Are the doomsday preppers right? Or are they at least onto something? Whether you decide to bug in or bug out, we'll discuss the top 10 resources you need to keep on hand to ensure you won't be caught lacking when shit hits the fan, and the top 5 habits you can maintain to save money and energy in the worst of times. Prepping, or survivalism, traces its roots back to the pioneers of the 19th century, but it really took off during the Cold War. The prepper movement has a rich history, but we are not here to talk about that. Prepping isn't just about the end of the world. It's about natural disasters and being ready for war, or an EMP, or a rare solar flare, and now economic instability and recession fears. Food insecurity is increasing, inflation is causing the price of products to skyrocket, and natural disasters seem to be getting worse and coming more frequently. Considering the current state of global affairs, it's no wonder we're seeing prepping and preppers in the news. A trend that started in the spring of 2020 and happens to peak every year during Black Friday, and yes, that is a hint for you. It really seems to be late 2022, early 2023 that saw prepping in the news. Personally, in my situation, it is imperative and extremely necessary that I prep. When I was hit by 2 hurricanes in 2 weeks in 2024 with no car and no friends or family, losing power meant getting cut off from the world. I was lucky to have some of my small space preps waiting in the wings. Prepping is not just 1,000 ways to make something out of duct tape. In some cases, you're going to need to bug out. In others, you're going to need to stay in. You want to make sure that you have the basic supplies for these kind of situations. Whether you are going to stay in and shelter in place or evacuate for any kind of event, the last thing you want to have to do is fight somebody in the toilet paper aisle. To take us through our top 10 resources that you'll need, I'm going to ask you some questions. In case of an emergency, how will you heat your food? You're going to need something to cook with. If you've got a grill, make sure you've got charcoal. But otherwise, having something like this already existing in your life means you don't have to think about whether or not you're going to be able to cook. You can also choose to go get a little camping stove or any other resource like this. Will you have enough water to last you 3 days or even 3 weeks? And is that water going to last you and every member of your family, including your pets? You're going to need to find something to store this water in. A bonus tip from someone who's been through a few hurricanes: fill up your bathtub with water. It will come in handy, especially if there is a boil water notice. Also, all your appliances, your crock pot, your instant pot, your blender, anything you've got that can hold liquid can hold water in case of a hurricane, and it'll keep those appliances off the floor in case of a flood. What will you eat? Just like you need water, you're going to need at least 3 days of food, and if you can find a way to store it properly, even up to 3 weeks of food for everyone in your household. These need to be non-perishable items. You do not want to be worried about throwing out a bunch of food should the electricity go out and you lose power in your fridge. If you can buy these items on sale and store them properly, you won't have to make a mad dash to the store with everybody else who isn't ready. Make sure this includes enough food for your animals. Try not to let yourself get too low. And if possible, if you know something's coming that might affect you, it's great to go to the pharmacy and take advantage of that emergency prescription option that many insurance carriers offer. What if you have to evacuate? You're going to need a go bag. Another great option to include in your go bag is a packing list for every member of your family, as well as some information like phone numbers, photocopies of certain documents. Anything that you think you might need and you may forget is great to leave in your go bag. What if the power grid goes down? That means ATM machines aren't going to work, so you want to keep a cash stash. And it won't just be your house that's out. When the entire city goes dark, it is dark. You don't want to have to rely on your cell phone flashlight, so make sure that you have several flashlights. You can really never have too many. Putting one in every room is even helpful. Something that really saved me during my power outages with Milton were these electric candles. They don't make your house hot, they run on batteries, they run for hours, and they provide a decent amount of light in pitch black. What if the power stays out? This is where portable electricity is going to come in handy. If you can't get yourself a generator or a solar-powered battery pack, as long as you have some way to charge your phone or any other important devices, this will come in clutch. If the power goes out for a few hours, that's already tough enough. But overnight or even for days can be a challenge, especially if you've got kids or a short attention span. Think about what kind of entertainment you would actually enjoy in the middle of a crisis. Consider getting a battery-powered radio so that you can potentially get updates from stations in your area, and have a variety of options to play for music. Where are all your important documents? In the event of a sudden emergency, you're not going to have time to gather this stuff. If you don't already have it all together in one place that's easily accessible, that may be the first thing you need to do. But something I recommend is making copies and putting them in places no one would think to look. Keeping them hidden in a secret zipper of a go bag is really smart because most people are going to think it's just an empty duffel bag or something. But having something waterproof is going to come in handy in case you can't get to your copies, because it may save you in the event of a flood. You may be able to find them later. What if someone gets hurt? I got a text message from my city letting me know that our county had shut down emergency services a few hours before the hurricane rolled in. They let us know we had to fend for ourselves until morning. In addition to some basic supplies, you should have a pretty extensive first aid kit. You don't have to have 1,000 of each item, but having at least 2 or 3 of everything is something that won't just save you during a hurricane, but could save you a trip to the emergency room at any point in your life. The next thing I want to talk to you about is some of the habits you should maintain in order to be ready for any kind of event. 2 hurricanes coming back to back isn't unheard of in Florida, but it is rare. I was somewhat ready because Helene had just passed by us, but in many ways I wasn't because I wasn't expecting another so soon and I had let my guard down. Luckily, I had enough time to prepare for that second hurricane. However, many people saw how quickly it went from a tropical depression to a Category 5. If I hadn't have had those days, all I would have been able to do was prepare for the storm and potentially evacuate if I had been told to. By maintaining certain habits ahead of these potential events and making them a part of your regular routine in your daily life, this can really help you stay ready so you don't have to get ready, if you know what I'm saying. So let me ask you some more questions. What if there is a fire or it floods? Imagine right now, somehow, some way, you had water up to your waist, or you smelled smoke in your house and maybe even had a chance to put that fire out with your own safety equipment. Everything you see on your floor is a potential fire hazard or could get ruined in the floodwaters. So if you're a very messy person, this could be another great motivator to say, maybe I should try to clean up a little bit more or at least get things up off of the floor. Please note, this is not an issue of preference or some cleanliness virtue thing. I really want you to think about what would happen if any of these types of events took place. Another thing that's really important here is to do your laundry. Not just for the fire hazard or the flood risk as we talked about, but also because the clothes that are dirty are the clothes you wear. The clothes that stay in your closet that only come down every so often are not the ones you're going to want to have access to in a state of emergency. So this could be another great motivator for those of you who struggle to get your laundry done. Who, like me, when I was in my 20s, only did laundry once a month because you had that luxury and you were willing to go deep into your closet. This might be something that you want to shift in your life moving forward, at least until things get more stable. How will you prepare your preps? Think about the food that you're going to be storing away, your non-perishables that you might eat in case of emergency or in case of a situation where you have to bug in. If you don't know how to cook those foods, you're going to be in trouble. Make sure you haven't decided to prep a bunch of items that sound good in theory or are really, really healthy, but are things that you have no idea how to work with. Additionally, if you don't know how to cook, you do want to try to at least get some basic skills. And a cookbook may be very helpful for those of you who lack those skills. At least you can try to make things based on the information that's available since you won't have access to the internet. What if they run out of gas? And when I say they, I mean your whole city. I walked to a gas station the day before Milton hit. The gas station was out of gas. And a lot of people were saying it was misinformation. I think the issue was once you were out, you had to wait for someone to come refill it. So finding gas could be challenging, especially if you were moving around a lot. There was a lady in line in front of me who was telling the cashier she had been looking for gas for hours since early in the morning, and this was late in the afternoon. She was just trying to make it out to evacuate because unfortunately she lived in the very bottom area of St. Pete, which was an area that was horribly affected by Milton. And Helene. She had been driving around and she had a bottle of No-Dos in her hand. It was only the afternoon, but she knew she still had a very long trip ahead of her wherever she was going. I want you to imagine that all the gas stations within a 10-mile radius of you happen to be out of gas because everyone went and got gas before you did. If you decide moving forward for the rest of your life that a half a tank or even 3/4 of a tank is now empty to you, you will never have to worry about that again. Your car runs better on half a tank or more anyways. Half a tank can get you out of the city that has no gas and to the next location while everybody else is still driving around on fumes. If you're willing to create this habit for yourself, it can change everything in the event of an emergency. And the last question I want to ask you is, what will you do if shit hits the fan? It's time to have some tough conversations. You need to discuss with your family what you are going to do in case of any of the major types of events that can hit your area. So in Florida, it would be hurricanes and potentially tornadoes with those hurricanes. We need to know where our safe spaces are. If I had family or friends, I would most likely have some sort of plan to meet up with them in case the towers went down and we couldn't reach each other. Sit down and talk to your kids so that they aren't afraid of something happening, especially with how crazy things are nowadays for them just even going to school. This is a conversation I'm sure that they can handle, especially if it's done right. Being able to encourage them to say, hey, we need you to help us. Your job is going to be to grab everything for the puppy, and you're going to help me grab everything for the kids. We'll all grab a checklist. We'll work together. This could be an excellent way to ensure that you can get out safely and quickly, no matter what the circumstances. And more than ever, I encourage you, talk to your neighbors, get to know the people in your area, try to create some semblance of community where you live. It happens at the worst of times, and we see it in the news every time there's tragedy. But one of the things that all preppers really push for is that community of other like-minded individuals who have decided to work together for the common good. Make sure that if that's going to be you, that you find people in your area who think the same way. The next time something goes down where you live, look around and see who the helpers are. Go talk to them, get to know them. But even if you don't do any of that stuff, at the very least, make sure that you are waving at your neighbors, because you will be surprised how that can build familiarity with people who you'd otherwise never talk to, and how that can bring comfort in times where you're going to really need the people around you. So these are my recommendations. If you think that you are someone who could benefit from prepping, if you are someone like me who has anxieties and wants to feel a little bit more comfortable with the situation that you're in, maybe financially or anything, for any reason, becoming a small space prepper can be a great way to get started with your prepping journey without feeling like you've gone full-fledged conspiracy theorist. Prepping has a really bad name. It's an excellent way to make sure you're not putting any strain on your supply chain when things go wrong, and it's saving you time and money. You don't have to worry about price gouging. I did not have to leave my house or order anything if I didn't want to when I heard the hurricane was coming, because I had everything I needed. Now, I am a hermit, and so that's a little bit different. I do everything from home already. You can still do at least half of the things on this list, especially building those habits, and that can save you so much mental energy when things are going wrong. That's not the time where you want to be trying to figure out, oh no, what do I do? That's the time where you want to go to the things that are going to help build your confidence and say, I know exactly what to do now. I hope this video helps you. I hope you can start to think about the things that you're going to prep. What do you think about the prepping movement? Do you think it's just a bunch of crazy people being irrational? Do you think that they might be onto something? We've only barely scratched the surface of just the preparedness aspect of prepping. What do you think about some of the other parts of it? Would any of you ever buy a bunker or anything like that? Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll be back soon with more 8 types of people videos, maybe some stay in your lane stuff, and plenty of other random topics, whatever I decide to talk about that day or that week. Check me out potentially every Wednesday and Saturday, maybe more. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? And if you have any requests of things you'd like me to look into, because you know I like rabbit holes, send your girl Alice a few keywords and I'm on it. Okay, my name's not Alice. I'm out of here. Peace. Okay, bye.